evening, and I think it's the perfect weather to have this conversation. And I'm being joined by two great gentlemen who may not need any introduction, but we will give them a time to introduce themselves before I can dive deep into the conversation that we are having today. Today we are reopening Inspire Africa coffee shop in Gulu. And to me, this has been home. I've been a part of this from the time that it was open in this city. And I want to thank the leadership of Alfred for sustaining this to this day. Gentlemen, you allow me to give you a chance to introduce yourself so that we know who you are, and then we will get to the conversation for tonight. Otherwise, to all of you who've made it here this evening, I want to say a very big thank you to you, and thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us this evening. Over to you, Alfred.
Okay. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Brother Bernard in the womb. A very wonderful, nice guy. He's a good coffee guy. I will speaking. I'm called Alfred Oyet. I am a coffeepreneur. I am the team leader that is running this coffee enterprise here. And I've been in this business of coffee for about now 8 years. So I understand the dynamics around coffee all over the world. So we are privileged that we are very young, energetic, dynamic entrepreneurs who are not afraid to continue going on, whether the sun rises or the sun falls, but they're always moving forward, developing resilience so that really they champion and propel the coffee value chain in northern Uganda. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Alfred. I can pass the microphone to my next guest.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair of this session. I'm Komakej Daniel. I work in Gulu University as the director for the Directorate of Research and Graduate Training. But coffee is my daily thing. And I'm here specifically for that. And we're going to talk about coffee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Bernard Lowo, and I'm going to be the host of this conversation. I want to bring you up to speed. Briefly, coffee is one of our main exports now. I think we are the second largest exporter of coffee after Ethiopia. And with recent statistics, we seem to be overtaking it.
We are now the biggest.
We're now the biggest. So that means it speaks to how we've been handling this industry. The coffee sector contributes to about 1.7 million households that the sector is supporting. But also through the Uganda Coffee Roadmap, we aim to be exporting about 60 million bags of coffee annually. I think what we are exporting now is 6 million bags of 60 kgs. Exactly. So I think with a conversation like this, but also opening up the new coffee park in Tungamo, there's significant contribution to this. Now today we are engaging specifically on how the young people are contributing to the value chain of coffee, not only in Uganda, but we're also looking at northern Uganda. Professor, the NUSA 3 made significant contribution to coffee, but also Uganda's target is to have about 60 or 20 million bags of coffee by the end of 2030. Are we on the right track with this?
Yeah, thank you very much, moderator. I thought as you actually started, it's chilly. And at this point, when it's chilly, hot coffee goes pretty well. I thought before I answer you, I have a song that many Ugandans know, but we want to transform it for coffee. And probably we are going to sing together to warm ourselves as we wait for espresso coming. For those who know the song, we are going to sing, but in celebration of coffee. Uganda, Uganda, oh, Uganda, 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 we are going forward. Uganda, Uganda, oh, Uganda, 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 we are going forward. This is the time to grow more coffee. This is the time to grow more coffee. Uganda, Uganda. Can I hear you sing? Uganda, Uganda, Uganda. We are going forward. The chair of this session, I want to think what you did say. Where are we 2030 as the country Uganda? As a country, our focus, Chair, has been in the production. But as His Excellency, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has been saying many times, it is time to talk more about the value chain. But particularly, as we talk about the value chain, where are the youth? Where are the young people? This morning, we were sharing a conversation with the team leader here. And we said there are 4 strategic areas to map Uganda towards 2030 production of coffee. And our argument is that the production can only be sustained when we understand the coffee value chain. And for this particular time, Chair, I want to drift a little bit away from production and focus a little bit more on chain, coffee chain, focusing particularly on a segment of our population, the youth. But this youth we are talking about is not in general, but northern Uganda. And Chair, as you notice that the growing of coffee has just got started in the north. But significantly, our entry point now must become important, linking entry point to the value chain. And we did say, first, as we compete in production of the tonnage 2030, where is our focus as the youth of northern Uganda? Looking at coffee value chain, one part that stands out clearly as a gap is a professional group of people trained in the coffee beverage, what we are calling baristas. Hello, Uganda? Hello. As Uganda, we still have a significant gap on skills and training in coffee beverage. What we are calling a professional group of people, baristas. We have a number of young people who are skilled, but we don't have a specialized training institution at a national level to train baristas. Without baristas, we don't have good beverage. Without baristas, we don't have quality. I have a good friend here, Patrick. Patrick is a barista, but we need more at the level of barista 1, at the level of barista 2. And so in the value chain, one specific area, Chair, that we need to focus on is the training of baristas 1 and 2. Barista 2 is at upscale level, and barista 1 is at a significant professional level in the beverage of coffee. The second question has been, when we harvest coffee, we take the coffee beans through a process of roasting, and the problem starts. Some of the coffee beans are well roasted, others are too much roast, others are below the quality of roasting. So the quality and the standard protection of coffee roasting is still an area that we need to talk about. And when you start talking about coffee roasting, you must also begin to appreciate what is the blend between Robusta and Arabica. What is the exact or the quality blend between Arabica and Robusta per cup? Do we understand that? Because if we do not talk about this, then either we have coffee served whose beans have been over roasted. We need to talk about the capacity and the skills of roasting. But also to talk about the general quality of coffee production in this country. What we are thinking about for now is the tonnage. But have we taken a keen interest to understand harvest handling of coffee, the drying of coffee, the bagging of coffee or putting the coffee in the bags? Because the global standard is precisely exact. 2030 must meet us when we have a good capacity to evaluate the quality of our coffee in the production, in the drying, in the bagging, in the roasting, in the brewing, and all other value chains involved. If we do not appreciate the skills involved, then the coffee we are celebrating today will only be limited to this country and not globally. Lastly, Chair, we have a good coffee shop, Inspire Africa in Igulu, and it's one of the best. But, like many coffee shops around this country, have we cared to understand very specifically capacities and skills in managing and governing coffee shops? What we see in hotel training, we are trained in hotel management, but not coffee management. So as we train baristas in the beverage, can we also begin to understand that coffee value chain got to be managed and governed well? Thank you.
Professor, let's all in there. This particular project, Andalusia 3, had about 3 components. One is to promote coffee growing, and there were zones earmarked for that. But also there were selected cities to promote coffee consumption. And part of that was to train baristas to handle coffee. We know it's special, the way it is served, the way it is presented. Coffee is special. And we had a component to train our young people in how to handle this. And I think there were efforts that was put to ensure that we teach our people not only to be baristas, but also how to drink coffee. What did we get wrong with? Because the world is so systematic.
We have the policy, and we've been emphasizing South 4 must take cognizance of this particular interesting point of a baristas. Chair, the problem is not the details of what a barista is. The problem is to get started. Up to now, we don't have a specialized or dedicated training institution for baristas. You go to Nairobi, it's clearly established. You have a baristas 1 and barista 2. terms of classification. Here, we are still on paper. And I think what is critical at this point is to transit from paper to real work. And I want to encourage this government that part of the transitional perspective in northern Uganda is to provide northern Uganda with this opportunity. And I will be happy to come once more that there is a training institution which focuses specifically on barristers, which focuses specifically on quality assurance around coffee value chain. Northern Uganda has embraced coffee. Northern Uganda is now coffee zone, and we are ready. And a part of giving a back, particularly to the communities that have been in conflict, is to have this training institution. We've had Labora training all sorts of skills. We are saying, can we have a specialized institution for coffee? So I agree with you. We have a statement in Nusa 3. But we have to pull it forward. And we hope Nusa 4 is also not only paper, but that there is resource allocated to establish a coffee training institution. Thank you.
Professor, finally, before I let you go, our biggest market for coffee now is Germany, Italy, the US, and Asia. And we are at $1 billion dollars annually, and we want to go to $5 billion USD in the year 2030. Now, with this market and coffee being our biggest revenue earner in terms of export, about 20% of our revenue earning from export, particularly looking at that market, where do we position young people from northern Uganda to also tap into that global market?
Chair, I was in University of Ghent. I was in University of Antwerp. I was in University, that is in Belgium, University of Uppsala in Sweden. And something was particular. In all the doctoral training, you had the room written, no coffee, no PhD. And I got interested in this. But, so, the point here is, in all the doctoral training spaces, there is a coffee brewing machine. So I went to brew coffee for myself, and I got coffee made in Uganda. I thought that was a particular instance. But in Antwerp, coffee made in Uganda. In University of Ghent, coffee made in Uganda. In University of Uppsala, Sweden, coffee made in Uganda. Uganda is simply unstoppable. But we have bad manners as a country. The bad manners is we don't care about quality. So what is our entry point? It is not quantity, it is quality. Nile Breweries has accomplished this task, particularly Uganda Warrant. I don't take alcohol, but I came across as an experience in Amsterdam when a Ugandan, a visitor, not particularly Ugandan citizen, was carrying Uganda Warrant. And a white man told him, please, I can offer you any amount of money you want, provided you can give me this bottle of Uganda Warrant. For those who drink, bear me witness here. Uganda Warrant is global. It has a particular quality. What about coffee? As we did say, Ugandans have some bad manners here. Quality. If we can restrict ourselves as Uganda breweries to maintain quality, then we need quality in our coffee value chain. Without quality, the market in Germany or the European Union will gradually restrict us. So what is the way forward? As a country, we need a quality testing center for all the coffee production. And that means we have to be particular here. That as we talk about quantity, we must also worry about quality. There is the big conversation around aflatoxin, the toxicity levels. And coffee is not immune. As a country, we must be deliberate. As a country, we must be interested because, as you rightly say, our economy now, we only rival oil to be produced. Otherwise, currently, coffee is the main income earner for this country, Uganda. So specifically to your question, we need to focus on quality. Quality in the production. Quality in the harvest, quality in the drying, quality in the roasting, quality in the packaging. What materials are we using to package? How attractive is the packaging? It's a whole host of effort that we have to.
Thank you very much, Professor. I'll move to Alfred. Professor says we need to set standards. Professor, our biggest problem has been setting standards, but we fail to maintain the standards along the way. After being tested by UNBS, we drop quality, and this has affected Ugandan products, not only coffee, but in all the other sectors. You spoke about post-harvest handling and the losses that we get from there. There's a gentleman called Andrew Rugasira. He was the first Ugandan to put our coffee on the shelves of supermarkets in the UK. And when Andrew Rugasira started his coffee journey, he started by, first of all, mobilizing coffee farmers, and then training coffee farmers, and then getting them the right seed, doing research before even thought of producing this coffee. And I think we need an approach that is in that order, and an approach that we can replicate, but also allow other people to learn from. And I think he has been, his company was called the Good African Coffee. And I think over time, Andrew Rugasira made a very strong statement as far as coffee is concerned in this country. I want to come to Alfred, a story of Inspire. I am glad that every time I come here, I always see you employing young people. And also that speaks to the contribution that you are making. Currently, we are implementing the National Development Plan 4, and there's a strong component of coffee in that. I want to know, one, what has been your experience in this? You serve coffee here, but also Professor talked about training baristas at a different level. How is that a challenge to this enterprise?
Thank you so much, Brother Bernard. Just as I've mentioned, I've been into a coffee business for about now 8 years. At least I'm confidently, I can say, I understand the dynamics around the coffee economy globally. Just like how you have asked me and Professor spoke about it, through this NOSAF funding, we have been able to train some few baristas. But as Professor said, we need to formulate a policy where we should move away from class 1 barista to class 2, whereby a syllabus need to be introduced into a university or establishment of a barista training institute. Because if you move around the world, I have been to Nairobi, I've seen a barista school, and those people, when they are employed around the world, they really earn good money. Amidst those challenges, we have been able to train good baristas, and some of them are among the world top best baristas. For example, you look at the Patrick, those of Patrick and the Emmas, they went for a championship in Greece, and they might be among the top 5 baristas in the world. And we train them from this counter you are seeing from here. So those are some of the achievements at class 1 level of barristers. Now, we are trying to move into class 2, whereby now we begin understanding the chemistry involved in barristers, that involved in roasting, involves now making coffee not to appear only like a crop, but beyond a crop, whereby we look at coffee as a beverage, and through coffee we begin now knowing that it's a crop which can produce a line of things. You can produce caffeinated drugs, you can produce lip balm, you can produce jellies, you can produce all those things there. That is what takes place in class 2 barristers. So when we begin understanding it like that, it will enable us through government. And I think this discussion in this coffee shop today, it should help us formulate a policy whereby by the next financial year we should be able to establish a barrister training institute in this country. Through this, I have always been saying, as you have asked me, the challenges around the youth. In northern Uganda, we know very well that youths are the anchor of, are the engine of development. Because they are still active, they can move from Kitum, come to Gulu, go to Arua in the same day. Because they are still energetic. The same way, they are the one trying to propel northern Uganda coffee economy forward. Because of their robustness, because of their sweetness in doing things. They are the one who are in barristers, they are the one who are into roastings, they are the one who are into factory. Recently we had a launch of Africa Coffee Park in Uganda. 95% of people who are working there are youth. And if you look at them, you'll find that youths who are from northern Uganda, because we have set a foundation through this coffee shop here. So what we are interested now is that if you're a young person in this region, so for us to leverage and try to turn the negative variables into a positive variable, at least one person. If you're a young person, you must have at least an acre of coffee. So that we shall be solving the element of quantity, but as well as when we push for the agenda of putting a school, we shall also be addressing something to do with quality. If in all this aspect here, you will find out the agenda of drinking. Because where Ethiopia beat us is because they drink more coffee than us Uganda. For us Uganda, we sell more outside than what we drink from home. So if at least all of us who are inside this coffee shop here, we drink at least a cup of coffee, you know you are supporting a farmer down there in Ongaro, a farmer down there who is in Paicho, a farmer down there who is in Jumani, in all aspects of northern Uganda. So to end, to conclude with my point is that right now we are trying to propel what we need as what we call a coffee revolution in northern Uganda. How? Because if you look at the volume of what we have, northern Uganda is still only producing about 989,000 60 kilogram bags. That is what we are producing. That means only about 24 million trees are still in production. But the trees, the number of coffee trees which are existing in northern Uganda as a whole, it is up to about 60 million now. But only 24 are still in production. That also now gives us a question of what is how we are managing our farm? What is the post-harvest handling? So that the coffee value chain can continue. And we address the need of quantity as well as the quality as we keep pushing it through the coffee shop like this. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Today we attended the Thanksgiving of the Chief Justice in Patong.
Yeah.
And towards the end of his remarks, he emphasized coffee.
Yeah.
For those who followed the conversation, and it was very particular about coffee growing and consumption in northern Uganda. But also recently there's been a conversation around merger of the Uganda Coffee Development Authority and Ministry of Agriculture. What is your opinion on that merger?
You know, when a crop moves away from just for consumption into selling and export, it becomes a state-based crop. So when a crop becomes a state-based crop, it becomes a political crop. So If you look at the history of coffee, I'm not a politician, but let me hint it a little. The history of coffee has been into making various institutions in this country, bringing new government and taking old governments down. So for us to manage the idea which is within the coffee economy well, the coffee sector needs to be controlled. Why? We need to move it from a little an independent entity to fully managed institution by government, so that we are able, as Uganda, the government is able to control, to understand their market well, to understand how much they export, to understand how much income they generate, and through that income they use it into doing many of the production aspect of the nation. That's what I think.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But I'll pass the same question to Professor. The discussions around the merger of Uganda Coffee Development Authority and Ministry of Agriculture. What is your take on that?
Chair has become political. Let's see how to tackle that politically as well. When Parliament had a discussion about the merger, we all heard both sides of the conversation. But what was missing was a specific understanding of what coffee as a crop is. And what Alfred has said is exactly what I wanted to say. That the missing point was to see coffee as an innocent crop. Coffee, like many crops, are not innocent. They are political crops. For those who care to understand political ecology, you understand that when a crop becomes a cash crop, it ceases being vegetative, it ceases being some plant out there in my village in Paimol. It becomes a supervisory aspect of the state, because there is two things here: a crop that has become a cash cow. And when a crop has become a cash cow, then the state gets interested, and that crop transitions from mere crop to a political crop. And once we understood that the coffee is a political crop, that meant therefore that the state got interested and realized that to keep the Coffee Development Authority separate from the ministry was not in the interest of the state. The state had to manage, the state had to control, because the coffee owners probably were becoming too independent for the state. So the merger must be understood politically. Now once we've understood that, where is the point? The point is, let us now move beyond these politics and begin to look at the crop and where the benefit is to us. And so we want to say that we do not care now where it resides. That's a political question. What we care about is, wherever it is, can we move forward?
Thank you very much, Professor. I am running out of time. Your last words as well.
Chair, my last word is to stand and make an emphasis. We wanted to look across this table and see how many people are taking coffee. Coffee is not European. Coffee is not American. Coffee is for Ugandans. Coffee is for us. The start of coffee is you and I. If I was in my village in Paimol, I would say that before we start growing coffee, let us agree that we shall take coffee. I would go to my agago and say, before I start talking about coffee to us, let us agree that we shall start taking coffee. The start point of the coffee value chain is with you and I. The ladies, coffee has a very good aroma in the lipstick. Coffee makes you absolutely beautiful. Try coffee. For the public servants, for the routine workers, when you wake up with a coffee, you have a good day. That means we need a mind change. Coffee is not for export only. Coffee is for domestic consumption, and the surplus value of this coffee can now be exported. What's the number of Uganda? 40 million? I don't know how many cups are sold here in Inspire every day. If we were to sell 40 million cups across this country, Uganda, at a minimum of 5,000 per cup, that's how much? Hello? This is over 40 billion. That would be roughly about 7 to 8% of the national GDP. Ugandans. Coffee is for you and I before we think it can be exported. I like what Alfred did say, that the value chain does not start from elsewhere, but from you and I. We have to begin to take coffee. I moved to Ethiopia. Ethiopia does not consume coffee as a class, it is a culture. It is a celebration. It is a national identity. It is a family gathering point. A beautiful gathering point of coffee, and well celebrated in the entire procedure of brewing coffee. Besides Marua Group, can we also have coffee groups? Besides Nile breweries, can we also have coffee shops? Coffee. Besides Renzori water, can we also have coffee in our workshops? Besides Kwete, in our traditional marriages or Kwanjula, can we have a coffee? When we begin to transition ourselves, looking at coffee as simply an export crop, and we begin to say that coffee is part of our everyday. The market is first and foremost in this country for Uganda before we can think outside.
Thank you very much. And over to you, Alfred. Professor said we need to start taking coffee as a culture and also as a class. But also we need to emphasize quality. If we can achieve the same quality Uganda warranty and make it global, why not also improve the quality of coffee and make it global? Now, for those of us who are part of Marua groups, maybe we now need to think of also creating a coffee drinking group, so that because the promotion of drinking and consumption starts with us. Alfred.
Thank you so much. We need to get back to our entertainment. Coffee goes well when there's a lot of love, entertainment, fun making, and the rest of the things. My last word is that I keep repeating, and I say, youth in northern Uganda are the engine of development. Meanwhile, women are the anchor of development. For us to propel coffee value chain in northern Uganda, youth, including me, we must embrace this. At least you must have an echo, so that we are able to push the agenda and we drive poverty out of our region. That is my last word. We have a school here, you can join, we'll be trained In the Middle East, I've seen they're paying baristas over 5 million per month. And I have about 10 trained from here that are working there. Others are in UK, others are in Germany. So you get involved with the coffee value chain. Not only think that coffee is in the farm, coffee value chain is quite long and complex.
About coffee in this country, and we're looking at the value chain of coffee and how we can position young people from northern Uganda to benefit from coffee growing, but also coffee consumption. Recently, Uganda launched one of the biggest coffee parks in Tungamo, and Alfred made it clear that this is supporting so many young people, including those from northern Uganda, and have been a part of this. And I want you to just greet us and maybe say a few words about coffee in this country, and then your last words.
Yeah, thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. All the invited guests, at least I found Professor of Guru University. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I came here a little early, but saw that people were not there. I expected people just to come in big number. Then I proceeded to radio. I was in Speak FM on poverty in Acholi's sub-region. How do we link it to coffee? We have vast land. Our land where we used to have our cattle is now just free. And it has created for us a lot of land conflicts. So if we go to coffee, and coffee you plant once and you reap for many years, it's perennial. These annual crops like cotton sometimes it's also not easy. But with coffee, if we establish our farms, then we are going to reduce on this land conflict. So my advice to the young people is that let us reduce on land conflict. For right now, we buy coffee from Kenya, from elsewhere. Yet we can have our coffee also from Guru, from Acholi sub-region. We can actually make sure that we produce our coffee from here. We have also our internal ports. If we have to export, we can export directly from our this logistic hub. We have to take advantage of that. I don't buy the idea of us sending our coffee to Tungamo. We are not going to be donkeys. We also need to try and sell out. Not if you can have the finished product, so much the better. I found Professor talking about the consumption of coffee. We can consume coffee. If you travel to Ethiopia, I was in Addis Ababa for some time. Everywhere you go, it's almost like welcoming you with the water. You are welcome with the coffee, cups of coffee, and you are forced to take. And every time I say, these people with their better thing, the coffee is so bitter. So we should also try to see that our people consume coffee from here. There is this, this thinking that coffee has a lot of caffeine, and it's not good for especially us women. I think more research needs to be done because we have lactating women, mothers, and then we have pregnant mothers, and sometimes we say, they should reduce on that. So we also need to research. Why is it that in other countries, everybody takes just the same? Like I say here in Ethiopia, So let's try coffee and make the best use of our land. I am a member of agricultural committee. We will emphasize also on this small scale irrigation schemes. The irrigation schemes we need to have to run away from the frustration of dry spell. Sometimes we have real dry spell in northern part of Uganda. So the best thing to do is to make sure that we have a lot of water sources, at least for water sources we have. So this is what I can say. Even in Parliament sometimes I get so disappointed. I asked those who serve as snacks one time that why don't you also now, when we emphasize coffee, why don't you bring for us coffee? Every time you bring just tea without coffee. Let it be people's choices to either take tea or coffee. You should not force us to take tea all the time. So this is the little I can say. Let us encourage people to take coffee. Let us not be donkeys for other people. We should not allow that. We should always be the producers. That is we sell the raw products. We should get involved in the value chain so that we live a little better. We benefit a little better than a person selling straight away the coffee beans. This is what I can say. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much. I'll give a big round of applause to Mabel. And thank you very much for joining us. I like the idea of encouraging that we grow our own coffee and process it from here, other than buying from Kenya or taking the northern Uganda coffee to Tungam. Mabel, thank you very much. You may take your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We have come to the end of this session, and please stay here, enjoy every bit of coffee. We have the band here that will be performing, and also we'll have some good music after this. Otherwise, thank you very much.